So, welcome to the Career Change Diaries with me, Alice Stapleton. And today we are speaking to career changer Kelly Gunner. So, we're going to hear all about her career change. She was previously working in the music industry before moving into advertising, and then started her own fashion brand, TOMME. So we're going to hear all about that transition, get a sense of those diary entries perhaps over those weeks, months and years. So thank you, Kelly. Thanks for joining me on what is my first Career Change Diaries podcast. So thank you for being a bit of a guinea pig.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. So I think, first of all, just tell me a little bit about your career. Obviously, I've given a brief overview, but tell me a little bit about what you were doing before, what you're doing now, and what it was that started to give you that sense that something needed to change.
My career started in the music industry. So I worked for Universal Music, so one of the big four major labels, or three major labels now, I guess. It was always going to be in music. That was just what I wanted to do, and that was where I thought my career was always going to be. And so yes, was there for 6 or 7 years, I think. So literally straight out of uni, straight into that label. Worked my way through, worked in a couple of different departments and kind of worked my way up the ladder, sort of as far as I could probably go for a little while. I had an amazing boss, who I'm still friends with to this day. She's still a bit of a mentor. And when she left, that was sort of the catalyst for me to leave, because I was like, I'm never going to have someone who kind of goes to bat for me as much as she will. And when you work in the music industry, it is very, it's amazing, but it is all the negatives as well. So like, particularly as a woman being in that industry, it's so male dominated, that you really need to have someone who's kind of got your back. So when she left, I was a bit like, what am I going to do? So I did stay for a little bit longer, and then I was like, nah, it's time to kind of go somewhere else. So I went to work for a company that's a startup that someone was working there that I knew from Universal, so she'd gone there. So a bit of a connection, so I thought I'd try that. And then was there for a little while, realised startup life not for me in terms of like working there. Still within music. It was just a bit of chaos, I think. And I was probably at a time in my life where I needed a bit more structure in terms of like knowing when I'm getting paid, knowing how to kind of manage my my kind of life and that side of things. There was a lot of characters there, and it was all of the kind of stereotypes of working in a startup. Like, we had an office in LA, we went over to LA, and just crazy like working environment. And it was fun, don't get me wrong, I met some amazing people, but the kind of uncertainties around getting paid at the time was I was a bit like, I can't handle that.
So what were some of those niggles then? Because I can imagine, for some people working at Universal, working at a startup, going over to LA, this is often the case, with some people's careers from the outside. They sound amazing. The jobs that everyone would think were really cool. So for you, what were some of those niggles that got you thinking, actually, I need to change something here?
I mean, to be honest, had my boss not left Universal, I probably wouldn't have left. I probably would have stayed there. Like, we were very close. Like I say, we're still friends now. And it was amazing. I had some amazing times there, but there is a bit of a boys' club, and there is like a very much, I mean, it might be different now. This was obviously, I've had several other jobs since then, so this was a few years ago. But I think some of those things have never changed. So I think you need to have people there that support you, that will kind of fight for you to like get promoted, get pay rises. You've got to play the game, you know, politics, etc. So there's all these amazing perks like working with artists, working on amazing campaigns.
Mm.
I did some amazing work there, like, and I'm super proud of my time there. But I think if you don't have those people there, it can be a very hard place to be.
Right.
And it's not all like rosy fun and games all the time. You know, there is a lot of things that go on behind the scenes. But I had, yeah, it was my a job I look back on really, really fondly, like
Yeah.
really made me like who I am as a kind of person in terms of like how I work. Like, you know, I learned about like client management, people management, you know, doing brand partnerships, negotiation, you know, you're dealing with very big, important characters like CEOs of companies, and you know, you're understanding the commercial side of business and licensing, and you know, all these things that like so came into play like throughout every step of the every job that I've ever had,
Yeah.
even now. Like, so it's not like it's not a negative, but yeah, had my boss not left, I think I'd have stayed with
Right.
her and stuck with her. So
So it was quite. Sounds like it was a culture reason, a environment reason, and
yeah,
really interesting to hear that you picked up some really helpful transferable skills, especially in relation
yeah,
to what you currently do, by the
oh,
sounds of it.
definitely. And I think like just to touch on what you just said about culture, like the job that I got before I left and did Tom, I stayed there for 6 years because the people and the culture was amazing. So it's
Mm.
like I didn't, in the middle of those kind of bookends of Universal and Drum, the agency I was at, I did a couple of jobs in between, but those were short lived because they just weren't right, and I could feel that. And then when I
Mm.
found the place that I was happy, I stayed. And yeah, I was there for 6 years. So
Yeah,
um,
so that
yeah,
really
culture is
helps.
very important.
Yeah. So tell me about that period then, because you said earlier that you're happy for me to share that we met briefly
Yep.
about working together
hmm
on a career change, and I think I remember you saying that you had this idea and that you were thinking about this
hmm
fashion brand.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about that period and some of the thoughts that you were having about starting your business, maybe some of those
Yeah.
fears, concerns.
Um, yeah, fears is always money for me. Always. Um, so yeah, like I've been at Drum, which was an advertising content agency, and they were brilliant, and I loved working there. I loved the people, I loved the work. Um, but I think I say I love the work. They got to a point where I was getting frustrated with certain things. And when you are working for brands, there's only so much power that you kind of have, and there's only so much you can kind of advise. You're not the decision maker.
Mm,
And I think sometimes I really struggled with that and not being the decision maker and
right.
being like, oh, if I had this, I would do this. Um, and there was almost an element of like, I've got this idea and I want to work for myself and prove to myself that I can be that person and that decision maker, and I can take a brand forward, I can develop something, and I can be a marketing manager, I can do the brand, I can do it. So there was an element of that. And but I was always a bit nervous about um I would never kind of just quit something without having something to go to. Like, there's got to be some stability. You know, I have responsibilities, I have a mortgage, I have, you know, a husband that relies on
Mm,
me to kind of contribute. And, you know, things like that, where it's like I had the idea of the brand and I was doing it as a hobby. And
right.
it was like a dream of like, oh, I could start my own brand. But it was like I was never going to quit my job to do that because, you know, I needed I needed that a little bit more certainty that things were kind of gonna be stable and it was gonna work. So it's one thing to kind of have a bit of belief in yourself, but then it's a whole other thing when it's like, you know, that you need the stability there a little bit.
Yeah. So you were working at Drum and then you
Yes.
were making, so Tom at the moment it's what would you call it? Designer
Um,
handbags, but
yeah, it's
with a
kind of,
kind of
yeah, designer
quirkier
street.
style.
Yeah. I always say just streetwear accessories because I
Streetwear
think,
accessories. And I
yeah,
can
because
see some in the background.
yes,
Great,
yeah,
great product
yeah.
placement
Yeah,
there.
exactly.
So
Always.
yeah, so you were doing them on the side,
Yes.
and you had, I guess, the stability of drum and the
Yes.
income there.
Yeah.
So then, how did you start to transition into Tom? Because is that full
Yeah.
time now? Do you do that full
Yes,
time?
yeah,
Yeah.
it is full time now. It's been full time since uh 2020,
Okay.
mid pandemic, which was a crazy time to quit my job and start a brand, but hey ho. Yeah, I have to say, Drum were very supportive. Like, I was very lucky, and to be honest, like I'm very privileged and I'm in a position of great privilege, which I totally appreciate, to be able to have a company that supports what you're doing, to
Hmm.
have also, through my career, built up contacts that I could leverage to help me with what I'm
Okay.
doing.
Yeah.
So it's like I found myself like when I started to think about um, I was wanting to kind of gift bags to celebrities and influencers and musicians. I was like, okay, actually, when I think about it, I know this person, I know this manager. I'm happen to be having this conversation. Um, so I was having a conversation with Billie Eilish's manager in my current job at Drum about a project, and I was like, oh, can I send her? We were sending her some stuff anyway, and I was like, oh,
Okay.
can I
Yeah.
also send this? And they were like, yeah, 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 cool. So, that's totally unique. That doesn't happen for everybody. So, um, I sent her a bag and she wore it 6 months later on her Instagram and things sort of blew up a little bit from there.
Okay,
So
so that was
yeah.
quite a pivotal moment, was it?
Yeah, yeah, it definitely was. Like, I'd started kind of really focusing in 2019 on being like, okay, actually, this is a hobby, but there's a little bit of traction there.
Hmm.
Like I'd been doing the concept for like about a year before, like trying to really make it. When I first started, I was like gluing zips in, and it looked an absolute hot mess. It was not anywhere near the product that it is now.
So
And
there's a
these
bit
things
of
take,
trial and error on that.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly, and things take time to develop. You can't just like put something out there as a brand and it looks really nice and shiny. Like you have to kind of really work on it. So yeah, I'd kind of been working on it in 2019, and then yeah, I think it was June I gave her the bag. She wore it in December, and that's when it sort of really kind of there was a very quick curve into kind of January, February, March, um, and it was getting to the point where it was like, um, there was a lot of orders coming in, and me trying to do two jobs was just kind of not feasible anymore.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And it was make a decision of stay at Drum or really try and kind of make it work.
Yeah.
Um,
And
so
talk me through some of that thinking then, because I imagine, yeah, there must have been a whole heap of pros and cons and how
yeah,
to make that decision and that assessment.
yeah, yeah. It was. I'd got to the point where I was getting frustrated with the work that I was doing at at Drum, and like just personally for my own development, it was like it didn't feel like I was developing my career that much further. I felt like I
Mm.
probably had hit a ceiling, and it was either go work somewhere else and try and find a new job, or do I then quit and try and do this. And luckily, I had enough revenue within that had come through the business as a side project to be like, actually, I can probably sustain this for a little bit and
Okay.
quit my job and give it a chance. Um, and I had a little bit of a buffer there. Again, totally unique privilege to be able to do that, to be like, I've got a buffer there that has come through
Mm.
this hobby to then be able to kind of quit. Because like I say, like my husband's very much a realist. I'm a total like dreamer, and I would quit my job tomorrow if I could, but he's like, when we have a partnership and we have things to commit to, and so he's very much like, we need stability. Um, and yeah, it happened to be that this just sort of all came together at the right moment, in that I could
Yeah.
have a bit of stability and kind of try and make it work. And plus, I'm a little bit older and wiser, so it felt
So
like, you know.
So it sounds like having that financial buffer really helped you at least think, well, I'll give this a go.
Yes.
Did in your mind at that time, did you have a time frame that you would give it a go for? Or were you thinking, well, let's just see what happens and I can get a job back in
Yeah.
advertising if needs be, or
Yeah, I think I hadn't in my head put a time limit on it, like been like it has to be this point, because I think building brands and takes time. I think what I was trying to
mm,
do is just capitalize on the momentum that I already had, and see where it went. Um, yeah, I didn't really go, this is the cut off. It was just kind of, let's just see what
yeah,
happens.
yeah,
I think like now I'm in this position and a bit older. Feel like I feel like I can take risks a bit more now. Like I've got friends who are a little bit younger, because I was in that millennial bracket. They're a bit younger and they're like, I'll freelance, I'll do this, I'll quit this, I'll do that. And I didn't have that mentality then.
mm,
Now I'm a bit like, yeah, just get a freelance job. Oh, I'll just go and do this. I'll get a cleaning job if I absolutely have to. Do you know what I mean? It's like, but back then it was like, no, I need this career. I need to do this. I needed all these things. But yeah, then it had that mind shift of like, nah, fuck it. Like, let's just do this, um,
yeah.
and see
Well,
what goes.
well, and that's the thing. Sometimes you do have to take those risks in order to
Mm,
know what's going to happen. And
yeah,
if you hadn't, what would your
yeah,
career look like now? It'd be so different from where you are now,
yeah.
by the
I'd probably
sounds of
be
it.
very frustrated.
Yeah. And when you were perhaps telling friends and family what you were going to do,
Mm.
what were their responses?
Um, do you know what I, yeah, I think everyone was
Yeah.
pretty supportive, to be honest. Like, I'm trying to think. No one tried to discourage me. Like, um, I think people were just like, if you can do it, do it. Like, um, you know, like my mum like started her own business, and like she quit her job as a teacher, and started an antiques business, and has had the business for like 10, 11 years or something like that. And,
Okay.
so it's like I had, and she'd always done projects for every time I was like, throughout my like childhood, she'd always have a little hobby or something on the side. So I had that kind of, probably not consciously, but subconsciously, I have that role model sort of thing
Yeah,
to be like, actually, you,
definitely.
you can maybe do it. Um, yeah, I think yeah, I had a lot of conversations with, like I say, with my husband. Like, he's super supportive, but you have to consult someone else, that your life partner. I think he was just like, yeah, do you know what? If we can do it, let's go for it. He saw how unhappy I was, and frustrated I was,
Mm.
and I think he thought, if this has got some legs, let's try it. Um, so yeah, and he's like literally like support when I have breakdowns. He's like the one, the one that's there supporting me.
Well,
Um,
well, that was going to be my next question. So, what, in terms of the career transition itself, what do you
yep.
think you have found most challenging?
Um. Oh, it, all of it. If I'm
Yeah,
honest, like it's a totally different. It's completely different to working for someone when you also have a bit more of a clear trajectory. Like in my previous role, for example, it's like you're an account manager, you're account director, you're a business director, then you do, and like you've got a kind of linear path, and it's like, you ask for a pay rise here, you ask for a pay rise there, you have development meetings, you can ask to go on training courses, all these things are kind of, your career path is a little bit more set.
yeah,
Whereas when you're trying to work for yourself, it's like,
bit all over the
you're the
place.
decision. Yeah, you're the
Yeah,
decision maker. Everything stops with you. Like, and I've made some bad decisions along the way. I've made some good decisions. I've made some bad decisions. Like, you have to put all of these things in place. Working with, if you're working with a PR agency, a social media agency, you're hiring people, making sure you've got enough kind of cash flow in the business, like design, production, like because I'm everything, and it's ultimately down to me. So yeah, it's definitely different, but like again, I'm learning a whole new set of skills in terms of like there's some transferable things, but yeah, then it's a whole different thing of like of learning other stuff on the go.
Yeah. So it's been a bit of a learning curve in terms of being, a million people in one almost.
Yeah, yeah, and that it's like I say, there's definitely skills I've learned along the way through my
Mm.
career that have been transferable and can definitely like help me and have helped me. Um, and yeah, it's interesting being on the other side of it. Like for example, I used to be an agency working with brands. Now I'm the brand,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah.
interesting being the other side of it and like um and it's definitely like I definitely have then a set of expectations. And when
Okay.
people don't meet them, I'm like, right, you're done. I don't want to work with you anymore. And it's like it's hard to get out of that mentality sometimes because it's like, no, you can't be that flippant, and you have to kind of be a bit more understanding and try and kind of work with it rather
Yeah.
than if this is not how I would do it. So,
But
yeah.
what strikes me though is because I hear sometimes with clients there's a concern that they're somehow starting again, or
Mm,
that their previous or current career was a waste of time because they want to
yeah.
do something different. I think what's really great to hear is actually yours sounds like such a kind of stepping stone transition that if any of those previous jobs hadn't happened, you may not
Mm,
be where you currently are. So, yeah,
yeah.
really great to hear that actually it's all sort of accumulated into the
Mm,
position that you're now in. So, as you say, loads of transferable skills, but still
mm,
learning a whole set of new ones as well.
yeah. I think even if you like, I think even if you change from like one career to something entirely different, I
Mm,
think there's always things that are transferable, like whether you realize it or not. I think, yeah, I don't ever think anything's a waste of time because you might not then get to the point that you're at. Like it's all a kind of learning curve. It's all a journey.
yeah.
Like I don't think anything's entirely wasted. It might feel like it at the time that it's entirely wasted, but I don't think um I don't think it necessarily is. But
No.
yeah, I've been quite lucky in that things have kind of helped me along the way to get to this point.
Yeah.
Um
Well, it sounds like you've used a lot of initiative. You've been very resourceful. You've utilized opportunities that have
mm,
presented themselves, hence the position
yeah.
that you're in. And so you said that, there have been mistakes along the way.
Yeah.
So, because some clients, there's a concern that it won't be the right thing, or that
Hmm.
they'll fail. So talk me through your, I suppose, your perspective on those mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, when they're happening, I felt like I'd really failed. Like I felt like, oh, I've really fucked it up here. But um, I think you kind of can't think like that a little bit as well because you're gonna fail and you're gonna mess up at some point. Nobody is 100% perfect. So
Mm,
in the moment, I was a bit like, what am I doing? Like, oh, I've messed it up. And then actually, after a little while, and it's like, oh, actually, like one, I've learned from it, and two, it's like it was bound to happen at some point. I don't know everything.
yeah.
As much as I sometimes feel like I'm like I know what I'm doing. Yeah, you don't all the time, and you're a person and you're completely fallible. So it's like, yeah, it's in the even now, like when I get things right, I'm like, amazing, that's really worked, this is great. And then, I'll still mess something up somewhere along the line, and you're like, oh, but you kind of just have to, particularly when you're kind of an entrepreneur and like running your own business, like you will mess it up, and you just kind of have to own that, and
Yeah.
then you just problem solve and deal with it. Like, um, and yeah, it's for me, like coming from like um an account management background, um, like I like when I mess little things up that I'm like in my day-to-day job would have been just like it's second nature. I'm just like, oh, how did I not do that properly? But it just happens, like, and it's learning. You do have to change your mindset a little bit, because like I say, like now I'm a little bit like, when it first started happening, I'd be like, it's the end of the world. Now I'm like, it's not quite the end of the world, it's a bit annoying, but we'll deal with it and move on and figure out how we fix it. But yeah, when I first started, it was like, yeah, I failed all the disasters. It's like I failed, I've messed up, it's all gone wrong. Yeah, and it's like,
Yeah, and then
actually,
you learn from it. Well, and
yeah.
I often think that if you're out there doing things, being an
Mm,
entrepreneur, starting your own business, I think Brené Brown talks about, if you're in the arena of life, you're going to
yes.
get knocked down almost.
Yep.
It's not an if, it's a when.
Yep.
And love your attitude that they're problems to be solved. If you
Yes.
make a mistake or something doesn't work or whatever, yeah, next time
Yeah.
you do it a bit differently. And as you say, it's
Yeah.
a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
Um,
And you just
oh,
have to adjust.
yeah, definitely. So, I mean, it must be fascinating for you now looking back at the last, what, 5 years.
Mm.
So when you think about that career change that you've made, what would you say the best bits have been?
Um. Oh, you, the the day that I had my last day at work when I quit
Yeah,
was a good
yeah, that
one.
must have been a
Um.
good moment. Yeah,
It was, no, like I say, I still speak to all the people I used to work with, so it's not on them. It's just on the fact that I was kind of really doing it, and like,
yeah, that
and
courage and
yeah,
bravery, and
and
yeah, something to
that
be
it's like,
proud of.
shit, this is happening.
Yeah, no
um,
going back now. Yeah,
yeah, exactly. And then there's just been highlights along the way, like, when I did my first partnership with Adidas, which is like a brand that I love. This year I've got a partnership with the NBA, which is amazing. So, there's little kind of things that have happened along the way that it's like, okay, that's a bit of a pinch me moment, in like that,
yeah,
getting stocked in Selfridges, like all these things that it's like, okay, yeah, there's these little highs along the way, because in the middle sometimes you can lose sight of things, like, um and where it's like, I don't know, like being stocked in Selfridges, and it's like, that's an amazing thing for a little brand that's just been going like a year and a half, 2 years. um Whereas it's when you're in it every day, it just seems so normal, and it's not
mm,
normal. Do you know what I mean? Like, celebrities wearing my bags, because I'm in production most days, just kind of working on stuff, and it's a hobby still for me, because I'll work on new stuff on weekends, and I'm so in it that, yeah, these things just sometimes don't register as like how good they are.
yeah.
Sometimes, because you're
Just
just
sort of step out of it to
yeah,
acknowledge the success of it.
yeah, and it's only when like external people, like, um sometimes, like, they give you that validation, or they're like, when new people see it and they've never seen it before, and they say how great it is, or sometimes, yeah, stepping to go, okay, oh wow, actually, yeah, I've done some good stuff, like, you know yeah, sometimes you have to kind of take a step back and realize
Yeah.
what you've kind of done, and give
Yeah.
yourself a little bit of props for it. But yeah.
Any downsides, do you think, of changing career for you?
uh yeah, I mean, running your own business is just constant, like, and don't get me wrong, I'm happier doing this,
Mm.
but there are sometimes elements where I'm like, "Oh, wouldn't it just be easier if it wasn't all my responsibility?" um and yeah, there's definitely ups and downs, like, you know, and some of those are financial up and downs, some of
Mm,
those are just fatigue, and you know, and being in it all day every day. But I don't want to not do this. So it's
yeah,
like it's you just have to battle through some of those things, and sometimes you just need a day off, and it's just like, okay, it's what holidays are for.
yeah.
Um,
No,
yeah.
I can definitely empathise with that. Yeah, I have moments where you think, wouldn't it be easier if I
Mm.
just had a job? And then you
Yeah.
think, no.
No. Yeah.
It might be easier, but then you lose out of a whole load of other benefits. So,
Yeah. It's
okay. Yeah, what, you going to say something?
Oh, it's much easier walking downstairs to go to work than it is to get a train into London every day as well. That's
Yeah.
also another
Yeah. Yeah,
factor.
true. Well,
factor.
I think it must be so much fun making those products. I mean, yeah, that must be quite a cool way to spend the
Yeah,
day.
yeah,
Definitely.
and just do weird shit. Like, I made a skateboard into a bag the other day, and I made a picture out of pieces of basketball. Like, I just get to, like, just have
Experiment.
fun. Yeah, sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. So, thinking about other career changes. So, this podcast is, for people who are considering changing
hmm
career, maybe halfway there. From your experience, what would you say maybe two or three key pieces of advice might be for them?
Hmm. Um. Hmm. I guess. Well, what I guess one is, like, really think about what you know. Yeah, really think about it. Like, do the pros and cons of, if you're is it that you're really, really unhappy in what you're doing, that you want to change something completely, or is it that I don't know, need a bit more support, or you know, um, need someone like yourself to kind of, help them maybe in the job that they're in, and
Mm,
transition it. Um, because sometimes it is hard to just go straight into do something else, and people get uh what is it like oh, my brain's gone dead. Imposter syndrome, that's the word I was looking for. um because it can be scary, like changing to something completely different, and you don't want to end up in that situation. I think particularly as women, like, men are very much like, man, I can do that, it's absolutely fine. And whereas women, I think we think about things a little bit more and are a bit more like, can we really do that?
mm.
um so I think, yeah, maybe kind of, that's a very wishy-washy answer, and it's not really advice,
Well,
but
no, I think I'm hearing. Yeah, think about it. Is it just that something needs to change in what you're currently doing? So whether that's
yeah,
support or progression or just career development of some
yeah,
sort, or as you say, is it the nature of the career itself? And then I think I get the sense that then it's about having belief in
yeah,
yourself, that yeah, rather than seeing yourself as a imposter, just to sort of go back to what you were saying earlier, acknowledging that there will be things that you don't know that you need to figure out along the way,
yeah,
but just having that belief maybe that you're capable of finding your way and working through all those
yeah.
challenges.
And yeah, having support, I guess, is like, whether it is someone like you, or like
Mm,
friends, or like people who perhaps can kind of, because you'll question things, and if you probably want someone to talk to, someone who can kind of support you. Like, I probably have three, like, core people around me that I can kind of go to, like, be like, I need to talk to them about this, I need to talk to them about that. And when you're doubting yourself, having someone that can kind of, you can sound off against, that
mm,
maybe has a bit of an understanding of what you need and what you're going through, and yeah, having us a bit of a support system, and think
some
about who those people
cheerleaders.
are. Yeah, like, my husband's great. I have an ex colleague, an ex mentor, and one kind of very close friend that also runs a business. That's like, okay, actually, those are people that can kind of, help me in very different ways, but that I think are needed, particularly in my life, to support. And because you'll be on your own changing career, but you're going to need some people around you to kind of
Mm.
help you, like mentally and emotionally, I think, to do that.
Yeah, because I think, I mean, especially when I was changing career, I felt like I was the only one.
Yeah.
It sort of felt like everyone else was, all happy as Larry and what they were doing, and I was the only
Mm,
one thinking, "Oh God, is this
yeah.
it?" So yeah, and also for a lot of my clients, it feels like they're quite isolated in
Mm,
their experiences. So great to have, as you say, just your squad, your tribe
mm,
to support you and back you, and yeah, when you're feeling
yeah.
a bit wobbly, just to reassure you that
Mm,
you're capable of doing these things. And were there any particular kind of resources, or I mean maybe even financial support that you were able to access in those early days that helped with that career transition, starting your own business,
mm,
anything like that, or maybe that you've become aware of
yeah.
since?
Um, no, I definitely looked for things that could help. So like, I did this, like NatWest have this thing. I was banking with them, and they had uh, a, a community that you can join for kind of small businesses and new businesses, which was quite interesting to be part of for a little while. Like they run like workshops and sessions. They have a hub in London, so you could go and meet other kind of entrepreneurs and share advice and stories and stuff. And I think there's probably similar hubs like that, not just NatWest one, but um, yeah, there's definitely like things like that.
Mm,
Um, I found actually through doing what I'm doing, um, other people that do similar things that I've networked with and kind of built up friendships with through Instagram and social media, um, that just happened to kind of come about. And I did looked at like, do I need to upskill myself in some way? So whether it is, doing a bit of a marketing and business development like course, how to write a business plan, like things like that, that I know probably little bits of, but can always
mm,
like, help. So, at the moment I'm looking at crowdfunding and do I get investment? That's the next step, but it's something I know nothing about.
right.
So seeking out people that can help me understand that side of it a little bit more. Um, so yeah, I'm always when I started, I probably went very feet first into it, and then as things kind of went on, I was like, oh, actually, maybe I need a little bit of help with this, and these things like the meeting other entrepreneurs, meeting other business owners, understanding what they go through has definitely helped.
Right.
And they're all at different stage. People I've met are all at different stages. So, um, yeah, sometimes like they've been able to help me with something, or say speak to this person, speak to that person. Um, so yeah,
Mm,
it's definitely you definitely have to keep looking for things to help you, I think, and to keep developing because the business is very different to where it started to where it is now. So it's like I need different things and different skills and things I don't know how to do. So
yeah. Well, and I think a lot of it is accepting that and being okay with that, that it's okay
mm,
to ask for help. And it sounds
yeah,
like building those connections and having that network where people are all at different stages, that
mm,
yeah, you it's a bit of kind of peer mentoring, and you can
yeah,
ask other people, and yeah, just a real openness and willingness, as you say, to seek out those resources to learn those
mm,
skills that yeah, it's impossible to have right from the start.
yeah,
And as you say, you kind of hit certain patches, I imagine, and think, oh, I don't know anything about that, but it's
mm,
all there. The help's there, the support's there, the resources are there. So
yeah.
good. Well, long may it continue.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Kelly. I think that's been a really helpful
Thank you.
insight into your career change, and just really brilliant to hear how successful it has been, and the
Thank you.
success that you've had with your brand and your products.
Mm.
And it's been really lovely from my perspective, as we've been in touch over the years, just to see how that
Yeah.
transition has materialized.
Mm.
Very grateful for you coming on to the podcast and sharing your diary entries and
Yes.
your career transition. And yeah, just wish you all the very best with it,
Thank you
and
very
look
much.
forward to seeing even more celebrities wearing your
Yeah.
products
Yeah.
and watching the brand grow. So yes,
Fingers
thank
crossed.
you very much.
No,
Yeah,
thank you. It's a
thank
pleasure.
you.
Thank you.